Rewired. This is me, My Life Rewired.
Welcome to the podcast. Ashley is off today, but joining me is going to be somebody that I am so thrilled to bring to you guys. His name, and I should have practiced this beforehand, and please forgive me if I butcher it. It's Luke Bohnenberger.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Bohnenberger, two different ways. Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. I have one of those names that people butcher all the time, so don't sweat it.
You're okay.
So anyway, I was introduced to you by a friend of mine, Jason Lawley, who has been on our podcast several times. And when Jason says you got to listen to somebody, you listen to him. So I'm so thankful that he introduced me to you. I started watching you on TikTok, and it's been very positive and upbeat. So I'd like to share with our audience your traumatic brain injury story, because that's kind of what we do, is we like to share to let people know that we're not in this alone. Mm-hmm. And then we have a lot to unbox today. So I'm going to throw it to you real quick. And if you would, just share your story.
Yes. Well, first of all, once again, like I said in the beginning, thank you so much for having me here. And I'm always willing to work with people that are spreading the word and helping the community out in the brain injury community. So once again, thank you so much for doing this. Not just this, but beyond this. So thank you. A little bit of myself. I'm a South Carolina resident, born, raised, and still here. And in 2015, I was in a severe car accident where I was thrown out of the car head first, going about 70 miles per hour. I was not wearing my seatbelt. It was a quick decision. I always tell people this part of my story is not mine because I don't remember it. This belongs to my family and loved ones who had to witness and had to live through the week to 2 weeks of me in the ICU and in a coma. You know, as terrible as that sounds, I say I was sleeping. I don't remember none of it. It was the hardest part was for my family and friends during this time. So
right.
I was thrown out of a car and immediately unconscious. A military medic was actually on his way to work when he witnessed the whole thing. Luckily, the two people in the car with me were in the front seat, and they were both wearing a seatbelt, and they did not get injured. One of them had to get like glue on his eyebrow, and for months he always said, "Hey, I was like, okay, you got glue on your eyebrow, calm down." But immediately was rushed to the hospital, and I had to have a craniotomy. They removed half my skull for 3 months. And that whole night, I know had to be the longest day of my family and friends' life. I flatlined on the way to the hospital, and then I flatlined again during an 8-hour surgery where they had to drill holes and eventually get to the point of removing my skull. That's typically your last resort, with the swelling I had. And I was in a coma for 2 weeks, and when I awoke, even though I lived, my family really had no idea who was going to be the guy opening his eyes. As you know, those with brain injuries, the doctors don't really sugarcoat it the best when informing family. They just go, "Hey, he's alive." And then before your family can even soak in the good news, they say, "But he sustained a severe traumatic brain injury, and he probably won't ever be the same again." So, oh my gosh, let them enjoy the good news for a second before shoving the bad news on them. But I was a miracle within the first 24 hours of me opening my eyes. I was very responsive. You know, it was 2 weeks, but after those 2 weeks when I started moving, very responsive. And within a month and a week in the hospital, I left and I walked out, and which was a miracle because when I first awoke, my left side of my body, there was a lot of numbness, paralysis, and they told my family we might not be walking for 6 months to a year, at least normally. And I was walking out of the hospital. I remember moments in the hospital I refused to get in the wheelchair because I was like, nah, as long as I can walk, I'm gonna walk. So I was very blessed physically.
Yeah.
I was talking, which was, a miracle. I went through speech therapy. Within a couple of weeks, I was able to communicate. I wouldn't say as well as this, but you could understand me, I could understand you.
Yeah.
And that's pretty, as you know, you've spoken with a lot of people with brain injuries.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty big hurdle.
Right.
And I got over it. So overall, we were like, me and my family were like, oh my gosh, this was nothing. Yes, I had half a skull, which is, I'll say, was pretty traumatic in itself. But
Right.
with half a skull, and I was able to talk, I was able to move. I was like, as soon as I get the skull back in, my life's just gonna go on.
Right.
Well, that was not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I got home, and I had to go home with half a skull, because they were going to place the skull in 3 months from then. When I got home, the mental side, the emotional side really kicked in.
Oh,
and
yes.
We can get into the science of that later if you like. But
yeah,
pretty much I lost myself. Or as I like to say, I was teased with a miracle. Because in the hospital, everything was getting better. And my family and I were expecting everything to continue the same way it did.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the case.
Right.
I got home. I became an emotional wreck. I became very impulsive. Anger overwhelmed me. It was the rage. And to the point where I was physically and verbally hurting people I would never in 1,000 years think I would ever do that to. That just isn't me. Before,
Yeah.
It just wasn't me. I was not I would never hurt someone. And it was probably the hardest part of my injury. And the reason I say that is like, yeah, okay, living with half a skull obviously was tough to look in the mirror, obviously hurt your confidence. But to know that you were physically and verbally abusing people that were trying to take care of you, I wished I didn't have clarity of the moments. I wished I was constantly, angry versus angry and then back to myself. Because when I became myself and realized what I've done, the guilt was just overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
To the point of these emotions, as my neurosurgeon said, because the damage to my prefrontal cortex, it's like the mayor of your emotions was taken out, and your emotions were just like, hey, let's do what we want.
Right.
And that's exactly what they did. I became very suicidal, very angry. There were moments of laughter for no reason. Just this euphoria of emotions, just all taking, to the point where eventually I was admitted into a mental hospital for a few weeks to understand what's going on, right? I thought I had everything back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll fast forward through this because it's a long journey, but I'll say this: for 4 years, my accident was in 2015. It wasn't until 4 years later where I had my last brain surgery.
Wow.
I was dealing with seizures. I dealt with a very dangerous infection on my brain where I now have had an acquired brain injury.
Mm-hmm.
I dealt with, the seizures, the passing out. Literally, I was like, this first month after the incident was the best month, which was crazy. I just went through a life-changing experience, and I woke up and was like, I'm back to it. And all of a sudden it was like, no,
you're not.
And I went through years until finally in 2019, 4 years later, they had to remove the skull again for another 3 months to replace it. So this, you can see the scar, but this whole side of my head is completely prosthetic. This is a nice prosthetic skull. I've had plastic surgery on my face done, plastic surgery on my head done. My skull was taken off a number of 3 times for a total month of 7 months. My skull's been off. So almost over half a year, I had to live with half a skull altogether. And all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But the biggest point, and we'll get more into it, is even though during these 4 years I was in and out of hospitals, I was dealing with infections. I had to go to I had PICC lines, and I had to go to a cancer institution every 3 days to check my kidneys because the antibiotics they were exploding me with, trying to nuke the infection, was so dangerous that they had to check my kidneys and liver and so. But through all this, I was still living. Right. And that's the big thing, right? I didn't wait till my recovery was over to start living. I met my now wife during the time. I started my business, Luke Speaks, during that time. I was able to share the stage with Les Brown, who's a big motivational speaker. I was able to travel. I was able to speak on stages, from churches to high schools to speaking to thousands of people on stage. And I did all this, still going through all of this. And the reason I say that, I'm getting a little inspirational here, but the reason I say that is because I don't want people to wait until they're
Right.
better, right? And
Mm-hmm.
quotations better, because it's a rough term, but
Yeah,
you
exactly.
don't have to be 100% to give
Mm-hmm.
100%. But
Right.
that's a little bit. I'm sorry, I went over a little bit,
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
but that's a little bit of my journey.
Yeah, we have no time limits in this program, so you say as much as you want to say.
I appreciate
I
it.
always found it interesting when I talk to someone who's been through a coma. I have a good friend. I think she was in a coma for, I think, I'm telling you right, 2 weeks, maybe something in
Mm-hmm.
that ballpark. And she described it the same way you did, is like she just woke up from sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And my first question I always ask people that's been through a coma is I'll say, when you wake up, were you cognizant that you had an accident, or were you like confused, like why am I here? Was any of that going on, or did you just kind of know?
So over the years, now that I've gotten really into the brain, I've realized that a lot of those memories I had from the hospital probably weren't as real as I thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
It's called confabulation, and most people, when they first wake up, even for the first couple of weeks they wake up in the hospital, they don't remember much. It's
Right.
it's hard to form new memories. It's called anterograde amnesia, and it's the ability to your hippocampus to store memories, because your brain's sort of just going, like, it sort of just woke up and it's going, what's going on? It has other things to focus on
Right.
than storing memory. So what I do remember, I always say I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but I do remember talking about it. So I remember saying when I woke up in the hospital, the first thing I wanted, and my parents confirm, I mean, literally the first thing, I just woke up from this accident coma. The first thing I wanted was like, I am thirsty, which is crazy. But that's the first, like, I was like, I don't know what's happening to me. I have all these tubes in my body. I don't know, but I don't care. I just want water. And I couldn't
Yeah.
have it. As you know, you've been in the
Yeah.
they're like, oh, here's some ice chips. You're like, oh, come on. I'm like, I haven't had water for apparently 2 weeks, at least through my mouth. I've had a trach and all. So it was like the first thing I wanted was just water, and all you had to do
Yeah.
was ice chips. So as much as I'd love to tell you this amazing story of waking up and going, no, the first thing I can remember is water. That's all I wanted.
And look at you now. I love what you're doing. I always, and I told you this before the program, but the people that don't hasn't heard this part yet, but I love surrounding myself with positive people because there's so much negative out there in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I've shared on the program before that my first neurologist wanted me to do nothing for 2 years just to see if I got better.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I always preach to people that are new to our journey is therapy. Get into therapy and in
Mm-hmm.
support groups. Those are the two biggie things that
Mm-hmm.
I really wish I had known from the start.
Oh, absolutely. And I wasn't even aware of support groups
Yeah.
when I was recovering. Uh, I wasn't aware of TBI. To be honest, if you told me TBI, I would think tuberculosis. Like, I mean, did I just get through an accident and now I have tuberculosis? I don't know. I didn't. I never heard of it. I've heard of, over the years now I realized I probably had brain injuries before, because I was an athlete. I got
Mm-hmm.
concussions, and which are brain injuries. But I mean, to a TBI, no. And so I didn't know support groups even existed. And to be honest, a support group was the big pivotal moment in my recovery, because I was kind of forced into one when I went to the mental hospital. Like, we had to do group therapy,
Yeah.
and that was a pivotal moment in my journey, because that was the moment that I realized other people are in pain as well. And
Exactly.
like that feeling that you weren't alone, because
Mm-hmm.
like I was never alone. I had my family, and I'm very blessed for that. But there's something in you that says, well, they're there because they have to be there. But when you're in a support group and you're surrounded by other people that are in pain, and you can, the empathy, the
Uh-huh.
connection you have with that was healing. I mean,
Yeah.
has to be one of the biggest pivotal moments in my
Oh yeah, I completely agree with you with that. My wife, I love her to pieces, and she is the best caregiver I could ask for. But there are days that she doesn't fully get the full
Mm-hmm.
impact of what I'm going through. I mean, she's mourning the person that she lost as well, because I am definitely not who I was prior to the injury. I was always a positive person, to the point where it just makes people sick. But after my injury, it's like everything was amplified. You know,
Wow.
even though I
Yeah.
lost so much, that was the one thing I thank God for every day that I still have is to try to lift people up, because you know life is short. We're none of us are promised tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
and I didn't ask because we sort of just started talking last week through email, and then we're here. And I know you've probably shared 1,000 times, but can you give me a snippet of your injury and what
sure.
happened? Your story?
Yeah. And I'll send you pictures if you want to see them later. I don't.
Oh,
I've
I'd
never
love to
published
see.
them.
Yeah.
I've never published them on Life Rewired, but they're always available. But anyway, I was going out the back door, and I have an allergy to bees. As I was coming back in, one flew by my head, and I had that knee jerk reaction, you know, the
Mm-hmm.
flight or fight, and I knocked myself out on the door, on
Oh
a
my
metal
God.
door. We still have the door. Why I don't know. I bent the closer, um, but anyway, I cut my head from here to here,
Hmm.
and I had 5 staples in my head. And I call my wife Dale Earnhardt Jr. because she got me to the hospital in like record time. And the only thing I really remember from that point on was saying, "We gotta call my boss," because I was still on the clock,
Mm-hmm.
and she's trying to tell me, "No, let's get to the hospital." I'm like, "But I can't. I was still on the
Yeah.
clock." Call my boss, and my wife told her what was going on, and she's like, "Get to the hospital." Just
You're
like,
not
well, this
kidding. Yeah.
this guy's so concerned about losing his job.
Oh.
But yeah, but how the podcast came about was I would come home at night, and I don't know if you went through the parts where you can't sleep,
Mm-hmm.
but I would get 1 2 hours of sleep at night, and I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't just lay there and just go, what am I doing? Because you know the thoughts that enter your head, the suicidal thoughts. So I thought I'm gonna find on YouTube, because that was my go-to. I want to find on YouTube people that are doing what I'm doing. I couldn't find anything. I would come across medical doctors saying, "Well, this is what a brain injury is," and da, da, da. I'm like, I know what a brain injury is. I have one.
Yeah.
I want to hear real life stories of how people. Because see, I was searching for that connection to
Mm-hmm.
people that were like me, and I couldn't find anybody. So, and I would pray every night, God, give me a purpose for this pain. And then one day in group therapy, I brought it up, and the therapist says, "You don't. If it's not out there, do it yourself." Okay.
Ding, light bulb.
Sure. so so I did, and I tell you what, it's the best thing. It's been the most therapeutic thing for me,
Mm-hmm.
because I am constantly making those connections with people that are just like me, who understand when I say, I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning,
Mm-hmm.
or things like just the simple little things,
Oh yeah. Isn't
or
that?
like celebrating the wins when you get out of the bathtub and you see that you've remembered to get a wash or a towel to dry off with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, normal people, I hate saying that term, but normal people who don't have a brain injury, they just look at you like you're nuts. But I'm like, hey, that's a big win for me, because
Oh,
the number of
trust.
times, yeah,
Yes.
you know exactly what I'm talking about. The
I
number of
mean,
times you have to yell for help. Hey,
I'll share a funny story with you on that.
sure,
Literally, the exact thing you just said, grabbing a towel. I I don't think I've ever shared this story. Maybe once on stage. But it's really cool how the brain works. You said
yeah,
something, neurons fire, but there was a point where after my brain injury, I think I still only had half a skull. Um, where I showered, which I had to sit down in the shower. Um, and I got out and showered, and I had my towel and I grabbed it, but apparently it fell when I touched it. But my brain was like, "Oh, you grabbed the towel, you're good." And I walked out and to my mom sitting on the couch and just started talking to her. She's on her computer and she looks up and she screams. I'm like, I had no towel on. I thought my memories placed, my brain was like, you touched towel, you brought towel. And so I'm standing there. My mom is, granted, she's sitting, I'm standing. So you can imagine how direct it was, and now it's funny. Obviously, it was the most embarrassing moment of my life then, but now, I think it's a laughing moment now. But
Right.
those are the small things, like you just said. Those are, those are the things that I understand where you say normal people, because that's such a sensitive word. But absolutely, and I appreciate you sharing that with me. And I know it must have been very difficult, because you said earlier that the doctor, which is a lot of what people hear, hey, in a year or two, you'll see where you're at, and that's where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the worst
I hate
advice
that.
ever. Maybe that's good advice 50 years ago, but we're in a time now where with the science and the research and all that, that's just not how it should be.
Right. I think it was George Fisger. Are you familiar with him? He was an NFL football player.
Mm-hmm.
He's the first person to ever sue the NFL and win, because he got his brain injury from playing football. He played for the 49ers.
Okay.
But anyway, he was telling me that the 2 years, wherever you're at in 2 years, that's where you're going to be. They based that off of football or sports on a study they did several years ago. And it's not the truth.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No, the brain is so malleable. For a long time, they said once you're 25, that's your brain, right?
Yeah.
Whatever this beautiful thing here, whatever happens, once you're 25, it's done. And there's some science to say, structurally, but as we know, the brain is never truly done. And as long as we're living and there's life experiences happening and we're pushed with friction, the brain is never truly done. Now, there's scientists that I'm not saying that when you're 25, there is a lot of proof in certain aspects that yes, as far as pruning with your synapses and things like that, science, yes. But when it comes to neuroplasticity, which is our best friend, that's lifelong.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Two things we want to talk about, definitely, for sure. The one thing I was talking to you briefly about before was I saw your butterfly initiative. You do that yearly. Is this something that you just do like in one location, or do you go around the country, or how does that work?
So,
and what is the British?
Yes. So the butterfly initiative is something I'm doing yearly, and it's in South Carolina because I'm a board member of the Brain Injury Association of South Carolina, and so what I do is I do this initiative because, as you know, funding towards brain injuries isn't where it should be, and due to certain political things and cuts and stuff like that, Brain Injury Association of South Carolina isn't getting the funding as much as they used to. And even when they used to, it's never enough, right? The amount of people with brain injuries there's just so many out there that aren't getting the resources they need. For example, like you and I didn't even know support groups existed. And those are type of resources that people should get while they're in the hospital. Hey, so I do this butterfly initiative, which talks about the mental health side of a brain injury, the really the invisible part of it, right? And I go up there and I get speakers and I myself speak, sharing experiences, as we all know, which is why we're here today, the power of story, and sharing those experiences. I try to get a well-rounded group of speakers, someone that's like last year I had a neuropsychologist, then I had myself, a survivor, dealt with traumatic brain injury, another person that was diagnosed with brain injury, try to get a well-rounded group. And I get them in, and we pretty much raise money from ticket sales and sponsors and stuff like that to give back to the Brain Injury Association of South Carolina.
I love that.
It's awesome. Just, I myself, even though my journey wasn't easy, to sustain an injury like I did and to have 2 different craniotomies, my skull, which is one of the most dangerous surgeries. And to go through it twice and still come out and be able to have my house, have a family, and all these things, there's no way I could do this without giving back. Like, I feel like it's like, I look at my second chance, like, I don't want to disappoint it. Like, I want to know that when I lay on my deathbed, I'm looking back at my second chance and go, good. Like, I got it for a reason. Like, I used it. I didn't just blow it away. So this type of stuff, like what you're doing here, I mean, you're giving your second chance purpose. I love what you said, and I say it all the time, pain to purpose, right?
Right.
We can't put purpose behind everything that happens in our lives. Then what are we doing, right? We're just moving through life. That's all we're doing. We're just float, and that's not how we're supposed to live.
Right. Exactly. Do you have a link or anything that you can supply us with if people want to make a donation to the initiative?
Yeah. So it'll be next May, as we do it every May because that's Mental Health Awareness Month. I would say for those who, whatever state you're in, just reach out to your association.
Okay.
Reach out to your brain injury association, each one's in state, and just, donating's great, but really reach out and say, hey, how can I support? Like, I run a support group for them. I'm on the board as well, so I do a lot of stuff with them. But, I work with the Brain Injury Association of America too, and their speakers bureau. But really, money's important when it comes to funding and stuff.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying don't, but what I would do is, if you're a survivor or even a caregiver, anyone that's experienced in the realm of the brain injury community, just reach out to your association and go, how can I help? Do you need money? Or, even the smallest donation matters. Or do you need me to run a support group? Do you need me to do, just see what you can do to donate. I don't have a link as far as donating. I have my website, but I don't take donations. I have my website, lukespeakstbi.com. But I don't take donations. I would say reach out to your local association and see what you can do to help.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. The thing is, you don't have to make a huge donation.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody does just a little bit of something, just think of how much we can do with the little bit that everybody gives.
I know.
I know it's a big stigma when people are saying, "Oh, if you can give money," but the thing is, we'll spend money on a cup of coffee that's $8 or $9.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I know. My wife's a Starbucks fan. No, no, and you're right.
I got my iced coffee right here.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, just the one thing, there's always money out there. Now we're living in a rough time, so I never ask someone to donate.
Right.
But the one thing I always ask people to donate is their time.
Mm-hmm. So. If you can't donate your money, you can donate your time. You can donate your prayers.
Mm-hmm.
You can spread the word. I mean, it takes 2 seconds to tell people, hey, check out XYZ's website. Just a few seconds of your day.
Just, one thing I always tell, because, I coach people with brain injuries, and, we talked about the importance of support, and support is not just a luxury. It is a lifeline when it comes to living with a brain injury. And that doesn't just come to those with brain injuries. That comes to the caregivers. Mm-hmm. There are support groups and there are people out there, caregivers, they're lost. They don't know what to do. Maybe their spouse is aggressive. Maybe this is a personality change. Maybe their memory issue. There's some things that is out of our control, right? But what's in our control is reaching out to people and supporting each other. Mm-hmm. And so, it's not just a lifeline. It's not just a luxury. It's a lifeline.
Yeah. And the caregivers are going through life like, this is the first time they've ever had to deal with this. And I know if you had the anger issues, I had like almost the exact opposite. The biggest thing that I had was the emotionals. I would watch a television commercial and just bust out in tears. And I was never like that before, and I still get so emotional over things, just reading the mail. You're like, it's like I'm crying over the mail.
Oh, God forbid that Sarah McLachlan commercial comes on. Oh, geez,
right?
No, you can't see those animals. It's not the same anymore. It's not the same.
No,
it's like, man, I donate to everything I see on that every time. It's like, I'll give you all my money.
That's so funny.
That's good.
So now let's pivot a little bit back to Luke Speaks. That is your
Mhm.
actual business.
Mhm.
And how do people get in contact with you to book you for an event?
So yeah, you can. I have a booking thing on lukespeakstbi.com. You know, but sometimes I just enjoy when someone just reaches out and just asks me questions, and I love doing it. Right? I
Yeah.
spent I spent a good part of my life becoming an expert on my pain. I think that's one of the best ways you can overcome your pain or recycle it, I like to say,
Yeah.
is to become an expert in it. So I spent a large part of my recovery studying the brain, reading the books on neuroplasticity. I'm a certified brain coach. I went through the week programs. I wanted to understand this beautiful thing here, and I love being able to bring knowledge to people. Because sometimes the reason we're lost is we just don't know why our brain's doing what it's doing.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is our brain is just it's functioning just the way it should.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, in a lot of ways, that's not great, right?
Right.
Our brain isn't wired to give us happiness. Our brain is wired to survive. We
Mm.
have to change the way our brain is wired in order to really thrive in the world we live in. And that's not just brain injuries. That's just people in general. Our
Yeah.
brain is wired to keep us alive. And we're not living back in the Stone Ages where we're running away from saber-tooth tigers. We're in a different era.
Hmm.
But it's time to change our brain to fit where we live so we can thrive rather than just survive. So I teach
Mm.
people a lot about that when it comes to coaching. I try my best to educate them on why their brain may be in fight or flight, what happens when they have the damage to their prefrontal cortex. Let's talk about memory, the different types of memories, and how can we strengthen this procedural memory versus your episodic. When I understood my brain and I started being the word intentional with it, intentional is huge. Uh, that's when I saw my recovery just change. That and support. But I advise everyone, if you really want to see a fulfilling recovery, understand why your brain's doing what it's doing.
Yeah.
I think and it's not easy, right? There's
Oh,
always new research, which is like what I was coaching someone 3 years ago. I'm like, oh, let me call them because I was wrong because this new thing came out. The brain, it's very difficult because the brain research and all that's always changing, but so are we. So,
yeah. Are you familiar with Cognitive FX in Utah?
yes, I have actually spoken with them and they have invited me to come out there and try their things to do it with them for free, which is pretty cool. Just getting out to Utah is a little difficult, but if I can get out
Yeah.
there, I'm definitely going to be doing some work with them.
Yeah. I've had Dr. Fong on our program.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I want to do some more projects with her at some point. But yeah, it's very, very good information that they have. And I'm like, I'm the same boat you are. They offered me to come out. I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
fly.
getting out there is difficult. What is really unique about cognitive FX, and I want to see it in person because I found it very interesting because the things they're doing is it's first of all the benefit is the fact that you can see what's happening, right?
Hmm.
And so therefore you don't feel like, oh, am I going crazy? No, your brain, you can see what's
Yeah.
happening in your brain, which is huge. That right there is its own therapeutic tool. I think
Hmm.
that's amazing. And to be able to go, okay, this is the part of your brain it's sort of what I'm doing, but I don't have the technology. So
Yeah.
they're definitely doing a lot more than I am capable of. But to be able to go, okay, this is what's happening. They can literally look at the exact part of your brain. I think it's really neat. And if I ever do go out to Utah, is definitely something I will be trying out. Just like I've done hyperbaric chambers. I think those were really neat. There's a lot. I mean, we live in a world where there's so much, and the only problem
Right.
is that it's so much.
Yes. I have a friend that just bought one of those, and I'm like, good for you.
Yeah, it's like I could use a good Christmas gift this year. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
You want to buy one, get one free?
Yeah, right. That's crazy, but
Oh,
there's a lot of stuff out there.
the reason I brought Dr. Fong up, and it just clicked why I brought her up, is you said something earlier that made me think of her, is about the things that we don't know about the brain and how things change. When she was on the program we did, she was talking about the brain is the only organ in the body we know the least amount about.
Mm.
We know everything there is to know about the heart, about the liver, about, gallbladder, all that. But the brain is so complex, we haven't even scratched the surface.
Mm.
And that just, her saying that just made me go, it was like an aha moment for me.
Yeah. And I hope that gives, when we say that, because I've said it to people too, I say it in confidence, not to scare people because like, oh, great. So we don't know. It's confidence to show you that there's hope because there's so much we don't know. And the stuff we do know is a lot. I mean, there's a, when we say we don't know, like, oh, we've only scratched the surface. That surface is pretty massive. We've discovered a lot. There's certain things about the subconscious and conscious, like there's a lot there we don't understand. But when it comes to brain injury, moving forward, there's only good news coming out. Like it's only getting better when it comes to studies. They're not going to come out and go, oh, we just found out you have a brain injury. You're screwed forever. No, there's never, there's like, there's always good stuff coming out and there's research. And just once again, I just tell people, I'm not telling people to go buy, the giant books on the brain. I'm not saying you have to do all that. But, one thing I teach is the 6 pillars of a healthy brain. And one of those pillars is novelty. So I always challenge people to, even if it's once a week, just Google something you didn't know about the brain, just to learn something. It's not only good, Matt, you're learning something new, but you just might fall into a gold mine about yourself.
Yeah. That's another thing too, is whenever I find information, and it just fascinates me that I'm 5 years out now, going on 6, and I'm still learning things that why didn't I know this from day one? Yeah. So every time I find valuable information that I'm like, oh, I love this, I throw them a website under resources, because my theory is, why should people have to recreate the wheel?
I like that. It's a good idea. Yeah, like we said earlier, I think before we started, I tried to share information on TikTok, but I'm so bad at it because I find myself to be, and I think I find myself to be, and this is my own doing, but a perfectionist. So I'll post something, I'll go, oh, that's wrong. And I'll post it and I'll go, oh, said it weird. And then I'll eventually just talk myself out of it, which isn't good. That's something I need to internally work on. But also just, I have 2 kids, little ones, and then what? It's just I get so consumed. I volunteer at the hospital here, and I just find myself just disconnected from social media because it's not. I love in person and or working one-on-one with someone, but social media is a new thing, and that's really how you get out to the most people. So I need to challenge myself to get a little more into it because it's going to be able to touch more people.
It really is. And the people that you've touched already, I mean, it's probably much more massive than you realize.
Thank you.
I mean, I watched one video and then I had to watch another and then another.
So thank you.
I definitely went down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I just need to stick back with it. But I just want to continue teaching people about this beautiful thing next to me. This is Bobo. I named it Bobo because it's exactly the way it came, and that was my nickname in high school. So that was my brain before the brain injury. So I call it Bobo.
Oh, I love that. That is pretty cool. That's the one thing I don't have is a brain. Well, I was going to say I don't have a brain, but I do have a brain on my book that I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing, a quick funny story, I don't want to bore you too much, but whenever I wrote the book, the publisher's like, what do you want on the cover? And I described it to her. I said, I want me, but I want a brain in the background, like it's attached to me, but I want it to be wires because I felt like my whole life had been rewired.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, but I want little like buttons here and there. Like it'll say, I don't want it to say a word because that to me doesn't communicate brain injury. I want it to say like something that's not a word. Because I will in the evenings whenever I get really tired and my brain's just like kaput.
Yeah.
My wife will know because she'll say, "Okay, your words are not words. You need to go rest." So I said, "That's what I want." And she had just fired, or I don't know if she fired her illustrator or whatever it was. But anyway, she had a new illustrator. She goes, I don't know the kind of work they do, but I'm going to communicate what you said and see what they come back with. And what they came back with was, I said, that's it. That's what I want. And so, I mean, it's probably like the first time in history that someone got what they wanted exactly the first time. But I'm like, that's a brain injury. That tells me it's a brain injury.
Yeah, I love that. That's a cool story. Just
Yeah.
Writing. Yeah, when I wrote my book, I found it. Once again, I'm that person who was like, oh, I gotta redo. And eventually, I said, okay, I'm just gonna publish it. So I published it. Now I'm looking back and I go, man, I should have taken more time on it. But I always tell people, like, look, I wrote it and it was 2 years out from my injury. Like I'm always going to tell people, like, don't wait, right? And that just don't wait. As you said, we're not always promised tomorrow, which is very true. Hopefully not scaring anyone listening. But we're not, but just like commit to something, get it through. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you did it. And that's a win,
Exactly. I could have said it any better. One thing I do want to ask, the door, my friend, is always open. Anytime you want to come on the platform, share anything motivational, anything new that you've learned that'll be beneficial to the audience, the door is always open. But I think it'd be cool if we did and we could do this after the holidays, because I know, it's going to get really busy here soon. But if we could do we could get together like one afternoon and do a quick mini series, we'll just break it up into a 5-part series or whatever. Just different topics that is a great resource for people to be like, okay, I need to do this.
Yeah, I think it'd be good, because one thing I coach on everyone when I coach them is because it's crucial for every brain. So this is a journal, and it's called The Intentional Brain, and it breaks down the 6 pillars of a healthy brain. And have you ever heard of the 6 pillars before?
I have.
So it really goes in depth. It's a journal that tells people, because when I started journaling, the hardest part about journaling was a blank page and going, what?
All right.
What I like about this setup is it's like saying, it's asking questions saying, just fill this. So it guides you through it. But I like talking about the 6 pillars of a healthy brain, because what happens is so many people are like, I'm stuck. Like, they're like, why am I stuck? And one of the pillars is off, and they didn't realize it. And once we could connect one of those pillars, and we see that something, and you probably watched my video, one of the biggest things is sleep. And you said it earlier, the first thing I ask people when I work with them, before we even start, before I even get into their story, I go, how good is your sleep? Like, what would you rate your sleep? And if they rate it poor, I'm like, well, we got to get that first, because if we're not sleeping, our brain's not healing. And that could be the only thing. And all of a sudden they get their sleep in, and they figure out their sleep, whether it's through like a sleep therapy. And all of a sudden they find so many things are falling together or putting themselves together. That's like the pillars. It's like each thing is important. You can't expect a perfect, I wouldn't say perfect, there's no such thing, but you can't expect a good recovery if you're not setting your brain up with a healthy lifestyle. Right. And so many people, brain injury or not, are not giving their brain the best resources it needs. So we could do a series on that, and I think that'd be awesome. Really neat. I really enjoyed just chatting with you. We'll definitely be chatting more, even this month. I mean, this has been fun.
Yeah. Hey, the door is always open. I do mean that.
Thank you.
So guys, this has been a great conversation today. We could probably talk for 6 hours and I would not get bored a bit. But the audience probably wouldn't watch for 6 hours, but that's okay. Anyway, I want to remind you, if you could share this video with somebody, because you never know when what we share will touch someone and bring more awareness out there. If you need resources, visit our website, myliferewired.com. Go to resources, and everything that I have found that's helpful, I always list it there. And I will be listing Luke's book there too. I didn't realize he had wrote a book, so I can't wait to get that on the website.
The only problem is the book, it was taken down. So I'm doing a revamp. Yeah, it was called Recycling Pain.
Oh, okay.
But what you can find is this journal. It's like it goes over the 6 pillars and it lays out what people can fill out every day. Because I'll tell you, brain injury or not, journaling is super, super good for you. I
Yeah.
mean, the benefits of being able to write something down, the benefits to the brain, you're working that prefrontal cortex out. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, just so many benefits to just journaling. So just even if you just want to just write something once or twice a day, you're doing something with intention and therefore you're making a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget to like and share. And I always forget our Spotify and iHeartRadio audience, everything. And it's easily done because we do a video podcast first, and then it goes over to the listening platforms. On Thanksgiving Day, we got notification that on Thanksgiving Day we had a little over 1,000 downloads, which is like mind blowing. I can't believe
Well,
that
good for
happened.
you, man. That's great.
So thank you to our Spotify listeners. I appreciate every one of you guys. So you haven't been forgotten either. But until next week, and then soon be looking for a collaboration with me and Luke. So we'll see you guys
We
next
should
week.
get we
Oh,
should get Jay. Can you do 3 people? Because I think having Jason with us would be
oh
like
yeah, we can
we
do. I
could
think.
really we could make a that'd be really cool.
Yes, because we could do. I think up to 6 or 8. I think it might be 6.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, awesome. I cannot wait to collaborate with you and to get some more projects out there. It's going to be
Thank you so
awesome.
much. Once again, you are making a difference every day, and I appreciate you for doing this for the community.
Thank you. See you guys next week.
This is me, my life rewired.